I dig the fact that he's trying to learn more and that he's still comfortable coming to me to get information, because that goes away too. Like, I know when I was like a teenager, I still didn't know a lot of things, but I was trying to pretend that I knew what I didn't know so that you don't know that I don't know what I don't know. You know? No, that was just me. I know I ain't the only person here that shook somebody's hand, be like, yeah, what's good, homie? And then you turn to your girl, be like, yo, baby, who was that? You still do it today. Like, I remember specifically when I was 12 years old, I was on the B13 bus heading home from school, and the girls in the back of the bus were all laughing. And I want to be in the in crowd, so I walked to the back of the bus, figure out what's going on. My homegirl Chris was cracking up. She's like, yo, did you see what happened in class? Yo, that's the third time it happens to him this week. My homegirl Laura jumps in. She's like, yo, they got to get that under control. And I'm trying to figure out what they're talking about. So I'm like, yo, what happened? They're like, yo, did you see who had an erection in class this week? And I'm like, nah. Because I didn't know what erections were. So I went into guess who mode. Started asking questions, but I asked the wrong question first. I said, was it a boy or a girl? They reacted similarly that day. They start laughing. They're like, yeah, so you crazy, you funny. I walked away like I killed it, but I still don't know shit. Somebody in class got an erection. It's either a boy or a girl. And whoever it is, apparently it's crazy to think it's the other one. Solid day. I get home, I had to get dressed at a baseball game. You forced to do that if you're a Dominican kid. Until your father says different. I have a game tomorrow. Start stretching, we get to the park. I was a pretty good pitcher. It's a hot day though, so I ain't drink enough water. I actually fainted in like the third inning. My dad runs out, sees me what's going on, calls my mom, lets them know, and they take me to the doctor's office. I get in and I'm talking to Dr. Harvey. He's like, Gastor, did you drink enough water today? You had anything to drink? He's like, yeah, I did. Did you eat enough food? I was like, yeah, I did. Then he looks at my mom and dad and he's like, Mr. and Mrs. Almonte, you guys mind stepping out the room for a second? And they look at each other, they're like, sure, and they walk out. Then Dr. Harvey's like, Gastor, have you been drinking? I was like, what do you mean, Dr. Harvey? He's like, well, kids your age, they occasionally experiment with alcohol. They don't know to drink enough water. They get dehydrated. Sometimes they faint. I was like, no, Dr. Harvey, I wasn't drinking. But that's good to know. I get home, and I get dressed because we have a party that night. It's 8th grade. Everybody start throwing these great parties, good times. A lot of spiked Kool-Aid. It was fantastic. Monday morning, we all doing the quarterback thing, reviewing the party. Yo, did you see Crystal's homegirl? She real pretty. Yo, that's crazy. Yo, you talked to her? I ain't talked to her, but I'm going to talk to her. Wow. And then they're like, yo, Gastor, we saw you next to the punch. Was you drinking? And I ain't drink alcohol, but I didn't want people to know that I ain't drink because the drinkers were the cool people and I want people to think that I'm cool. So I was like, yeah, of course. You wasn't drinking, B? So they're like, yo, what it feel like, man? And I was like, oh, shit. He called my bluff. But thankfully, I had the great teachings of Dr. Harvey. I was like, oh man, the room was spinning. I felt nauseous. I got lightheaded. Yeah, I almost fainted, B. To other 8th graders that want to pretend they down, that sound fantastic. I ain't know until now that they were lying too. But they're like, word G, I'm gonna drink with you next time. Now I'm gonna start a party. Everybody's like, yo, man, G's the man. We gonna drink with G. And we keep recapping the party. Then we get back to the girls. They're like, yo, by the way, did you see what happened to Crystal's homegirl? I'm like, nah, what happened? They're like, yo, I heard she got her period. I'm like, whoa. But I didn't know what periods were either. But I'm feeling confident, you know? Start a party swag right now. So I was like, yo, let me walk over to Crystal, get to the bottom of this period information. And I'm like, yo, Crystal, I heard your homegirl had a period. Is she okay? And she's like, Gastor, that was real sweet of you to ask. It was actually her first period. She was spotting, she was cramping. You know, she really wasn't feeling well. We actually had to call her mom. She took her away. I haven't seen her since. That sounds scary as hell, right? That's not just me. Like, I know what periods are now, and they still scare me. You know? Imagine hearing that, then having to sit through class. Like, I had to eat that for 8 hours. What are these periods that are killing teenagers? Gotta get to the bottom of this, man. So we get home, change for the day's baseball game. And while we're getting to the park, it occurs to me, I should faint again. Go to Dr. Harvey's office and ask him about erections and periods. He was real helpful with this alcohol information before. It proved vital. So 2 pitches in, I take a hard dive. My dad runs over. He's like, Gastor, you okay? He's like, yo, my stomach is cramping. Think I'm spotting. Let's get to the doctor's office, you know? We rush into the room. Dr. Harvey's like, what's going on? He's like, yo, my stomach's cramping. Think I'm spotting. Pretty sure I had my first period. Dr. Harvey's like, no, you did not, Gastor. Do you have any questions? So I'm like, Dr. Harvey, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what periods are. And he's like, I know, Gastor. And he proceeds to tell me how periods work. You know, kudos to y'all, by the way, to have them. Incredible work y'all doing. Fantastic. Keep it up, it's great. Fellas, if you haven't heard of these things, like, look into it. It's crazy shit, you know? Like, to put it in our terms, like, imagine if you had, like, a refrigerator, right? So you got this real dope fridge. And, like, once a month, depending on what you do to it, it has the ability to make another appliance. But yeah, so I walk out the room, we get to the counter, my dad's paying the doctor, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to ask him about erections. And I'm like, yo, Dad, I'm feeling nauseous again, I'll be right back. And I run back inside, and I'm like, Dr. Harvey, forgot to ask you about erections. And he laughs, and he's like, Gastor, that's the other half of the conversation we just had. I was like, oh, that's interesting, man. And we get home, and admittedly, I fall right to sleep. It was an exhausting day. Just took in a lot of information. Wake up the next morning, and my dad is sitting in my room. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, Gastor, we need to talk. You've been fainting all week. I've been to the doctors 2 times, now what's happening here, man? I paid $90 in co-pays this week because of you. And I'm like, Dad, it has to do with erections. He's like, Gastor, you've been fainting because of erections? Like, how big do you think your penis is? That you faint every time you get an erection. I'm like, no, Dad, I didn't know what erections were. I wanted to go to see Dr. Hall because I didn't know about what alcohol did. He helped me out, thinking he could help me again. I'm like, it was valuable info. And he's like, Gastor, that's my job. I'm here to answer those questions for you. And more importantly, you know what's not your job? I'm like, what? To cost me $90 in co-pays. Fair point. I'm a father now, as I said. I have a son. So I challenge you guys here, if you have a son at home, and he starts fainting, ask him if he has questions about erections. He's either really blessed or really confused, but either way, he's gonna appreciate that you cared.